ABC Sports Prime Time on this Sunday afternoon. It's lovely to have you guys in for another episode of the Prime Time Show. We are back from Long Beach, California for the wedding of Ron and Krista Slay. It was an incredible evening, an incredible night, an incredible hangover to follow it up, but that's all right. I knew we had to get back. I knew we had some Titans to talk and that you guys would be here hanging out with us, as is the custom. We're also keeping an eye on the Tennessee-North Carolina College World Series game right now, bottom of the fourth. There are 2 on, 1 out with Tennessee at bat currently. The score tied at 0 apiece, a pitching duel right now in the College World Series game 2 for Tennessee. We will see whether they are able to overcome adversity the same way that they did the other night in spectacular fashion against Florida State. But we're not here to do college football entirely. We are here to dive in on some disrespect, heavy disrespect, that I found in my email inbox this morning when I was heading to LAX to fly back to try and think about some show prep, try and think about what was out there for us to talk about, because now we're officially in the offseason and certainly the news is slow. But this was something so ridiculous that came across my inbox that I just had to talk about it with you guys. And so that will be the thing that we dive into tonight, the Titans tax and what exactly that means for these players who come to play here in Tennessee. We'll also talk about starting out jobs that we think, projections for jobs that we think the Titans have open that will need to be won in training camp in just a few weeks from now. And we'll do a little Sunday Fun Day in the meantime as well, which I know you will enjoy. I think our Sunday Fun Day is going to work well enough. I think it's going to work well enough because it's from Ron Slay's wedding. And I would really hate for you to miss out on this cinematic masterpiece that was the Slay's introduction. But we will have to wait until the end of the show for that. D-Good says, can we get visual evidence that Bert is alive? No, you can't, because he's not here. Bert is still on a plane because he took too long to get back from Los Angeles and is apparently stuck on the runway due to lightning. So he can eat it. We'll do the show without him, and we'll see if we can't survive, if not thrive. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host. If you're new to the program, I'm Buck Rising. It's lovely to have you guys here. Disheveled though I may be, and I'm proud as always to be presented to you by Two Rivers Ford and Zen Sports, the best place to get in on all your betting action, whether it's the College World Series, what remains of the finals in the NBA and the Stanley Cup, and everything in between. Your favorite major sports you can always wager on at zensports.com. TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. Go to truemathfitness.com for your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. Tough to beat, free as a Middle Tennessee resident. You can go to truemathfitness.com for more information today. And Two Rivers Ford, like I mentioned, quality American-made Ford vehicles at the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com, where they always put you in the driver's seat and make the car buying process fast, easy, and fun at Two Rivers Ford. So, disrespect is something that we talk about a lot with the Titans because Firestorm immediately greets me with a Firestorm type of comment. This is effing stupid. I'm tired of the Titans getting disrespected by these effing imbeciles and these PFFs. I will not be relenting when we win the Super Bowl by 2030. So that's the timeline, huh? 2030. To win a Super Bowl? So it's 2024. You're giving yourself a 6-year window with which to win the Super Bowl. Now, I suppose there's nothing wrong with that, but you'd be relying heavily on Will Levis panning out. And that's something that we have at least, or that we need to at least see this season before we can make any determination on whether the Titans are in fact in a Super Bowl window. You may think so, and that's fine. You're entitled to. You may, in fact, be proven right by the end of this season. Will Levis may turn out to be the thing that the Titans have lacked for quite some time, which is a true sustainable franchise quarterback. Ryan Tannehill was sustainable for a period of time, but I don't know that anybody looked at him as a true franchise quarterback. He was your franchise quarterback for a period of time, but how sufficient that was on a scale of franchise quarterback play, most of you would probably label that as underwhelming. So the disrespect, the latest disrespect, and whether or not it's earned. Well, one, I do think that there is some of this that is done to antagonize you all. And by antagonize you all, I mean Titans fans, because there is uh, certainly a method of determining internet engagement, and the Titans do, just frankly, rank pretty low on that list because the size of the fan base is smaller. I'm not going to say than the average NFL fan base. I would say it's smaller than the average NFL fan base. The Titans are a younger franchise, just in terms of the Titans era of football, right? The Houston Oilers thing going back to 1960. You can count it, and I'm sure there are many carryovers from Houston to Tennessee. But for the most part, talking about the Tennessee Titans and an organically grown fan base here out of Nashville and then, in the southeastern area, it's not a national fan base. So internet engagement, it's pretty low when you talk about engaging Titans fans. What's the best way to engage Titans fans? Well, to a man, it is a proven recipe to piss them off, and they will engage with your content. And that, I don't know if that is what I determine this Pro Football Focus ranking to be, but it's pretty damn close to that because it's one of the more ridiculous things I've ever seen. So, for context, and I'll ask you your Two Rivers Ford take to start so we don't get too bogged down before I start to rant and rave here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. What is the greatest source of disrespect that a Titans fan has to endure? So only you can answer this. I'm going to tell you my opinion on it, but as somebody, as Titans fans, I need you to answer this question for me so I can tell whether or not I'm on base with the ways that I think you guys get disrespected, if I think you guys disrespected, which I haven't yet said to date. But we will see. What, as a Titans fan, do you believe is the greatest source of disrespect that you have to deal with on a regular basis? That could be rankings, power rankings, whether that's team-wide or player. That could be the level of dialogue that you see about your team, or you hear about your team, or you read about your team in the offseason, no matter how honestly they try to make legitimately contending moves. And they did that this offseason. What is the greatest source of disrespect that a Titans fan has to deal with on a regular basis? It's a Two Rivers Ford take. It's presented by Two Rivers Ford, quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com, where you can always get the best from the South's most trusted Ford dealer. That, of course, is Two Rivers Ford, just 7 miles east of Nashville International Airport. Let's see. Rhino55 says simply that the Titans don't exist, or that the fans don't exist. Maybe that's the tact that Rhino rather, is taken here. That the Titans fans don't exist necessarily, so they feel like they're ignored a little bit. I think that's a completely legit, fair point of criticism. Whether it comes down to things like just simple spelling mistakes or fact-checking errors, or the use of forgetting that the Titans are in the AFC South on some of these Pro Football Focus graphics that you see out there. And it's not just specific to Pro Football Focus, even though that is the latest thing that caught my attention with the level of disrespect. Katie Maurice Clemens says, all the negative talk about our team. So what is fair and what is unfair when it comes to the level of discussion around the Titans? Because I see a comment that I really like here, and I'll get to that here in just a second. Katie says, all the negative talk about our team. Well, how much of it is earned? And how much of it is just because people don't really are not interested elsewhere about the Tennessee Titans, not necessarily considered. I mean, they're not must-see TV. In fact, they're quite the opposite. The networks can't wait to get them off national TV fast enough, as evidenced by your lone Monday night game in the end of September against the Miami Dolphins as the only nationally televised game on the Titans schedule this year. Networks can't wait to get rid of them, right? So what is the negative talk, and is it earned or is it not earned? Well, the Titans have sucked in the last 2 seasons, and on the whole, in 25 years as a Titans era, or heading into 26 seasons as the Titans era franchise, they have had certainly some moments, whether it's McNair, whether it's having success with Marcus Mariota or Ryan Tannehill, or even some moments with Kerry Collins, and some fleeting moments with Hasselbeck and stuff like that. for the most part, the Titans have been a pretty easy franchise to ignore. Now, is the negative talk earned or not? Well, for a good portion of their 25-year existence, this has not been one of the better franchises in the league. Now, they are just coming off, prior to the last 2 seasons, a run of 6 consecutive winning seasons, which is as difficult to maintain or to sustain as any in the NFL. They were winning at a rate that was equal or close to that of the New England Patriots with Tom Brady, the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. It's a really, really hard thing to do. But lately, the dialogue has been poor because the team has been poor. The team has just objectively been bad. And so the talk heading into this offseason, the level of negativity that I think some of you guys are feeling is that you signed legitimately good players, that you're checking the right boxes. And still people come out with a FanDuel list that says something like, Will Levis is the 32nd ranked quarterback out of 32 starting quarterbacks prior to the NFL draft taking place, prior to Justin Fields and Russell Wilson being traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers, just ranking Will Levis at the bottom. It's like, 32 out of 32. What am I going to do with the Titans quarterback, Will Levis? They probably need to go out and sign Dak Prescott, right? That was a Bleacher Report article that I saw earlier today, earlier this afternoon, that the Titans needed to go all in to sign Dak Prescott because of the uncertainty of Will Levis at quarterback. So there's some of it's fair and some of it is blatantly ridiculous, right? And I think that's kind of the area that Titans fans have to work themselves through on a regular basis. But when you talk about, for example, the teams in the division and the level of disrespect that is had there, there is something specific to the Titans that I feel like I see year in and year out that I'm going to call the Titans tax. And I'll explain to you what the Titans tax is here in just a second, or what I perceive it to be here in just a moment, right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by Zen Sports. Download the app, plug in the promo code ATOZTN. Get up to $100 on your no danger first wager. ZenSports.com. For more information, gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. Must be 21 plus and in the state of Tennessee to bet at Zen Sports, where betting just got better. All right, so what is the Titans tax, and why is it that it's specifically applied to the rankings that we're going to get to here in just a second? When I talk about this, so I talked about this a lot in the offseason, right? The we suck luxury tax. Now, that's not specific to the Titans. The Jags, very often, many times in their franchise's history, have paid the we suck luxury tax. The Cardinals are a team that feels like it's perpetually overpaying for average to above average talent because they're not necessarily the most marquee destination, although certainly there's a lot of players who enjoy having a home in Phoenix or Scottsdale or the surrounding areas. For the Titans, though, it's specific to this offseason, the we suck luxury tax, where the team has been terrible. You have a bunch of starting roles you have to fill. You're going to have to overpay to fill them because this is not a place that really looks viable because there are so many needs. Now, it looks very much more like a functional NFL product after the offseason that they've had. They should expect to compete for the postseason this year. Will they make the postseason? I think it would be a disappointment if they didn't, given the amount of moves that they made. And if they didn't make the postseason, I would think there would be some level of Will Levis discussion being had there, because I do think that this is a roster that's good enough to at least make a wild card spot. But the Titans tax specific to the latest list that I saw is this. So, center rankings. How often do you find a reason to get butthurt about center rankings? Well, let me provide you with the latest fuel that you need. The Pro Football Focus outlet is going position by position, grading the various positions, ranking them according to how Pro Football Focus sees them ahead of the coming season. Now, how far down do you think I had to scroll before I found a player who ranked 10th among centers, allowing just 14 quarterback pressures last year and signed with the Titans in free agency? If you guessed that I had to scroll on a list of 25 players, this is a list of 32. Well, they do rank all 32 starting centers. How far do you think I had to scroll to find Lloyd Cushenberry, the newest center for the Titans? If you guessed number 14, you would be correct. Now you might say, all right, slightly above average for the Titans center. That's something on a bad offensive line situation that he's coming in here where he's clearly and obviously the best offensive lineman that they have on the roster at this point. Okay, maybe you could justify he's not bottom half of the league, but he's still top half of the league, even if he is at the bottom of the top half of the rankings for the centers. And you say, okay, that's, maybe that's not the end of the world. 14 for Lloyd Cushenberry, and here's the explanation, which will piss you off even more. Cushenberry had a career year in 2023 with the Denver Broncos before earning a payday with the Titans in free agency. Former third-round pick earned a 73.2 grade in 2023, ranking 10th among centers and allowed just 14 quarterback pressures. So that's fine, I suppose, even though you see, well, if he had a career year, how is he ranked 14th over somebody like Tyler Diaz or Mitch Morse, who got cut from the Bills this offseason, or even this, which is Aaron Brewer. Lloyd Cushenberry ranked below Aaron Brewer is the thing that I think pissed the most people off about this situation. Here's what Pro Football Focus, easy for me to say, has to say about Aaron Brewer, who they ranked 3 spots ahead of Lloyd Cushenberry this offseason. Brewer spent 1 season as the Titans starting center before signing a 3-year, $21 million contract with Miami. He is known more for his run blocking abilities, earning a 6th-ranked 78.7 run blocking grade in 2023. The Dolphins will hope Brewer can improve as a pass blocker. Okay, which is true. Aaron Brewer is a fine run blocking player. Like, he understands the angles, the pass sets, or the foot placement, the hand placement, the fighting techniques, the hand fighting techniques that you have to be a successful run blocker. And also, he's 260 pounds, and anytime he goes up against anybody who's remotely the average size of an NFL defensive lineman, what happens? Your pocket gets crushed. Aaron Brewer has consistently shown, and I know he got paid from Miami this year, so that's going to be an interesting thing to see if they can find a way to make him a speed and space type of center in a much better offense, an offensive line that is not as bad as the Titans ones last year, but they did lose some starting parts in the offseason, in the free agency specifically. But 11th for Aaron Brewer and 14th for Cushenberry is as dumb a thing as I have ever seen. Why, when players leave Tennessee, all of a sudden the player becomes better in the media's eyes, according to Eric Castillo? Because you're seeing a little bit of this with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is being covered at a rate that I don't ever remember seeing this level of offseason scrutiny on Derrick Henry. Now, it's because of where he went. He went to Baltimore. He's playing with Lamar Jackson, the 2-time NFL MVP. He's on the best team that's not named the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC this year, and they'll probably be the biggest threat to Kansas City in the AFC this year. So with all of that said, you understand why there's more Derrick Henry coverage. It's a big deal for him to go on and leave Tennessee after 8 seasons to go to Baltimore and ring chase. But I do feel that there is generally a sense that I cannot explain to you as an objective member of the media, somebody who is not a Titans fan, somebody who covers your team professionally and who also has friends around the NFL who cover various franchises in different markets. There is not a team that's consistently shit on than the Tennessee Titans externally. Some of that is earned. Some of that I think is fair. Sometimes they're pretty bad. Sometimes they're hideous to watch. Sometimes their style of football that makes you want to claw your eyes out. And if you are coming into this season with a degree of skepticism about, for example, Brian Callahan, who's never been a head coach before, he may be good at it. He may not be good at it. Brian Callahan, he's certainly not going to be whizzing on. He doesn't have the demeanor to be that. But I have no idea if he's going to be a successful head coach. But I understand that they're checking all the right boxes. And it's okay to be cautiously, to be skeptical of what it is that Tennessee's doing, because there is a ton of change here. But if the situation has been so bad that it can only stand to improve, and things can always get worse, as evidenced by the Titans' offensive line last year. If you thought 2022 was going to be the worst it ever got, you were wrong, because you met Andre Dillard on a 3-year, $29 million deal, and he immediately shit on you harder than even the national media shits on you for all the things that you try to do. But MB, I think, says it correctly. You have to be more choosy about reading articles and stuff from people that don't really understand football. This is the season of nonsense. And it's not even about people that understand football, because there's plenty of smart football people that I think understand football fine that don't get the Titans. And I'm sure that's not the only NFL market where that happens, but I'm pretty sure it's one of the few where that happens as consistently as it does. So while I do agree with you, I do think that there is a general one, they don't deserve anybody's respect right now. Right now, Titans don't deserve anybody's respect right now. They're one of the worst performing franchises in football the last 2 seasons. They're one of the most hideous offenses in football the last 2 seasons. They're one of the teams that has undergone the most change. There is no reason to look at the Tennessee Titans and say, you know what, that's a team that's worthy of respect in 2024 yet, because they haven't done anything. They haven't done anything to prove that. And I think most people are on the same page. Firestorm says, I don't think we're getting a fair look this year. No, I think you're getting it. Now, that's where I disagree. I think you're getting a completely fair look. I think you're getting a completely fair look. I don't think there's anything that I have seen. There is some level of disrespect in all of this because I think shit like the pro football stuff is ridiculous. That's called the Titans tax. When you leave a team, a more famous or respected franchise, and you go to a less famous and respected franchise like Denver to Tennessee, or let's say in the case of DeAndre Hopkins, his career coming to Tennessee at the end, right? There was that level of discussion around D-Hop. Will Levis getting drafted by the Titans, falling to the second round, all understanding all the circumstances that led up and to that point, but seeing still the 32 out of 32 in the offseason and things like that, just to straight up bother people. I do think that you're getting a fair look. I don't think that you deserve to be looked at. Not yet. There's nothing by anybody that's not local. Like for what? You know what I'm saying? There is nothing that if I was an objective football fan that would inherently. So let's just say I have what is it called? NFL Plus. I do have NFL Plus because I'm a member of the Pro Football Writers Association of America or whatever it's called, PFWA. So let's say I'm picking every team out of every team, all 32 teams, whichever team I want to watch on NFL Plus right now. And I go through the list of 32 teams, how far up as an objective football fan, if I wasn't covering them for a living and my entire profession didn't revolve around them, how far down on the list of teams would I have to go before I got to the Titans in terms of interest level? I do think that there's some interesting components around them, but you know why? That's because I know a good deal more about them than a lot of people because it's my job to. I'm here every day. I go to almost every practice based on my radio schedule. And certainly I travel to every game and I'm in the locker room pre and post and all these different things to talk to the players. We do all the interviews on the radio show. So I know a good deal about this franchise. How far down the list would I go before I pick the Titans is just to throw on a game and watch? Yeah, probably somewhere between 16 and 20 on the level of interest that any objective football fan would have around them as a franchise. Because what this person adds is that I think the Titans are a team that people need to see it to believe it. Sure. Yeah, 100%. I'm one of them. I need to see it. There's nothing. I'm not outright putting my belief in them, right? Nor should you. There's no reason to do it just yet. The thing that you like is that they're taking steps in the right direction of where you think it is that they need to go and what it is that you think they need to accomplish to get there. All of that is completely fair and respectable, and they deserve credit for using the resources the way that they did. If the draft class pans out, then they'll get credit for that. If the draft class doesn't pan out, then we'll crush them for it, right? It's all the same kind of rhythms that you go through in an offseason. But yeah, that's absolutely so. You don't need to think at all about it. I'm sitting here. Show me something. Give me a reason to think that you are more viable than I think you might be. And I think they're pretty viable. Like I said, I think they've made enough moves, provided that health stay relatively level, and that's certainly no guarantee here in Tennessee, but provided that health stay relatively level, I think that they have enough to get them to the postseason. But will they do anything in the postseason when they get there? What does it look like? How much of a struggle is it? How long does it take to get these things together? Man, a huge out for Tennessee there, who is currently leading 3-0 over North Carolina in this, I believe they're in the 5th inning right now to get off the mound to keep things moving for the Vols in Omaha. Keeping an eye on that College World Series game too for you as well. MB says, to be fair, Buck, there's probably like 5 or 6 teams that should be given respect to. Truly. And it's unfortunate for you that a lot of them are in the AFC. The AFC is stacked, right? Let's just think of the 5 or 6 teams that deserve your respect in the AFC off the top of your head. The Kansas City Chiefs, obviously the two-time defending Super Bowl champions. The Baltimore Ravens, who are probably the greatest threat to them. The Cincinnati Bengals, who will return Joe Burrow and arguably have the second best quarterback in the sport. The Buffalo Bills, who are definitely in a down trend in their cycle, but still have arguably the most talented quarterback in football in Josh Allen. And as long as you have that level of quarterback play, you can never be discounted. I would even talk about, for example, the Cleveland Browns haven't done anything worthy of respect, other than just drag the corpse of Deshaun Watson along. But they did make the postseason last year. So you have to look at Cleveland to an extent and say, all right, how close are they actually? The Browns, especially with their famous history of failure and how they go about trying to right those wrongs. The Jets. Are the Jets worthy of respect? Probably not, but Aaron Rodgers is always kind of lurking there in the back of your head. You talk about the Dolphins. I mean, hell, the Houston Texans in your division. A lot of people in the same way that I think they go the opposite direction on the Titans, I do think that there is a lot of Colts love in the offseason that I've never really understood, especially for as long as it's been since they've won the AFC South. And the Colts have had like solid rosters, but it's never really been more than league average, at least in the last couple of years, outside of the Andrew Luck run, where I think he was 11-0. He retired 11-0 against the Titans. The 49ers, we haven't even talked about the NFC. So there's a great many teams that you would talk about before you talked about the Titans in terms of level of respect. But what Firestorm asked, do I think you have a chance this year? Well, that's a very nebulous question. A chance to do what? Do I think you have a chance to look competent? Yeah, but that's as far as I'm willing to go. Like, do I think the Titans have a chance to win the Super Bowl? No, probably not this year. Do I think the Titans have a chance to win the AFC South? Do they have a chance? Certainly. Texans just did worst to first in 2023 and did hit on the quarterback and had a much more competent roster around the quarterback to make him look better than he might have actually been as a rookie. And they'll play a first-place schedule, and it's a tough division, right? Jags, Colts, Titans, Texans should all have some level of challenge to them. I don't think anybody is getting swept this year in the AFC South, which I would just kind of put the barometer at right now. So, do I think you have a chance to do anything beyond being meaningfully competitive? And what does meaningfully competitive mean? My expectation for them is that they should be pushing at the end of the season for a wild card spot, whether they get it, whether they don't. I think they need to be talked about as in the mix at the end of the season for the postseason. And that's a good place to start in this first real year of seeing life without Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill. Yeah. So next year we can talk, if things go to plan and if this looks the way that I think a lot of you expect it to look. And by the way, I also expect it to look that much more viable. I feel pretty confident about Will Levis heading into 2024, but does he have to prove it to me? It's just the same way that he has to prove it to everybody else, his teammates, his coaches, the fan base, the franchise, the NFL. Hell yeah, absolutely. So after the season, we can talk about more tangible, more, I don't want to say more attainable, but more just higher aspirations, aspiring to higher, right? Aspiring to more, aspiring to be what the Texans are right now, which is unexpected in year one, Super Bowl contention in year two. The Titans, perhaps unexpected in year one. Will they be contending for a Super Bowl or worthy of Super Bowl contention in year two? We'll have to mess around and find out. So, A to Z Sports Primetime is presented by the wonderful people at the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. Go to GaryAshton.com. Get your dream address without the stress. Get the intel edge you need to succeed with the best in the business. That, of course, is the Ashton Real Estate Group. They will always go above and beyond to put you in position to succeed. Go to GaryAshton.com, the official real estate agent of the Nashville Predators and of the A to Z Sports Primetime Show. So let's do a little Sunday Fun Day and put a bow on this. Bert is still on his plane trying desperately to get off the apparently it's, the heat index when I landed from Los Angeles this morning was like 112 expected today in Nashville. I know that rain brought it down a little bit, but Bert is apparently sitting on the runway just baking in a plane that they won't allow him to deboard because of lightning out at BNA. So we hope that he's well. But in the absence of Bert, we'll do a little Sunday Fun Day anyway. What's the best thing that you saw this weekend? Sports, pop culture, family life, whatever the case may be. What happened to you that was a good thing this weekend? We'll talk about it together, and I'll let you hear mine right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by the incredible folks at True Math Fitness in the Gulch. Your first workout is free as a Middle Tennessee resident. No workout ever recycled or repeated. That is the promise that True Math Fitness offers you. And it is a promise that they will deliver on because they always put you in position to succeed. Go to truemathfitness.com for that first workout free. As I mentioned, let Worth Campbell and their staff know that you are an A to Z Sports watcher and listener, and they will be sure to put you in a position to succeed, like I mentioned, with your workout goals. truemathfitness.com, the best in the business to get you your fitness goals. All right, so Sunday Fun Day. What's the best thing that you saw this weekend? What is the thing that gave you the feel good? Whether, maybe your kid is playing baseball right now. Maybe your kid hit a home run. Maybe he just got on base for the first time or something like that. He or she, depending on baseball or softball season, whatever's going on right now at this particular point in time. Maybe you saw, you had a friend get married is going to be my Sunday Fun Day that we'll get to here in just a little bit. Had a great time at a wedding. Perhaps that is the thing that gave you the feel good this weekend. B-Birds on Twitch says, spent the weekend getting ready for my great nieces to visit. So that is her feel good. Absolutely. Always good to have family in town and a lot of people who get the opportunities. I need to do a better job of spending time with my family just generally on this Father's Day. By the way, happy Father's Day to all of you who are celebrating. I hope that many of you are not hanging out with me, but instead celebrating Father's Day with your family. And with that being said, I think that there is a lot of, a lot of that can be taken for granted. And I hope that nobody takes their Father's Day celebrations for granted today in particular. But speaking of somebody who's very passionate about Father's Day, my buddy Ron Slay, VFL, former Tennessee basketball great, 3HL co-host, got married out in Long Beach, California this weekend. We just got back from his wedding earlier this morning, and it was absolutely electric. My feel good, my Sunday Fun Day. Well, I guess it was a Saturday Fun Day. But either way, was the entrance that the Slays made at their own wedding. The scene was excellent. It was awesome. It was loud. It was very, very drunk for a good period of time. And it is the thing that made me feel the best, just to spend time with coworkers outside of the office and to make a bit of a trip with some work buddies and hang out and make new friends, meet new people, and enjoy a great night celebrating a couple that we all love very, very much. Ron and Krista Slay getting introduced at their wedding yesterday in Los Angeles.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing for the very first time, Mr. and Mrs. Ron and Krista Slay.
From long distance, nigga, I'm a bad bitch,